Look at this gorgeous plant. It's an agave. So, my husband was traveling in Ecuador a couple of weeks ago, and he visited a farm that's establishing agave fields. He was able to go and kind of take a tour and learn about the plant, but he also participated in this custom of tying this bright ribbon to the agave and making a wish. So, as he was telling me the story, I was like, oh, that's cute. But then he said, by the way, I made a wish for you and your new company. Wow, that just changed everything because it's thoughtful and it's very loving and just like him. But also, it was a couple days later when I was hearing this story. And so I just kind of sat back and thought, wow, there's been this wish out there about me and my company, and it's been out there for a couple of days, and I had no idea. I got this really incredible feeling. Like to know that someone out there was wishing me well, wow, that's an uplift. Within about a day or two of hearing this, I came across the word pronoia. Pronoia is the belief that everyone is out to help you. People are conspiring on your behalf, wishing you well, thinking well of you. And it all just sort of clicked for me. Of course, people are out there wishing me well, thinking positively of me, even when I don't know it. I do it all the time. Just pause and think about it. I'm sure you do too, especially with your friends, your colleagues, your family members. You are constantly wishing and thinking positively on their behalf, and you probably don't even tell them most of the time. So, if that's the case, then let's just extend this net. Let's do it even more. Pronoia is a term that was coined by sociologist Fred Goldner. It's essentially the opposite of paranoia. So instead of feeling like everybody's out to get you, it's that feeling that everybody's out to help you. What a wonderful context. Now, it's a very interesting phenomenon starting up my own business. I know a lot about leadership and learning, teaching how corporations function. I know a lot about teams and individuals and how teams are dysfunctional. I know quite a fair bit about sales and technology. But what I am admittedly learning on the fly is entrepreneurship and social media and marketing and a host of other fun things that I never had any idea came with hanging out my own shingle. The really incredible thing is, I've encountered most people, so very many people, who really want to help. I've been introduced to friends of friends who are willing to spend an hour with me, making suggestions, listening to my pitch, recommending resources. That's time that they're taking away from their own life, their own businesses. I've met strangers who've heard me and then said, hey, you know what, let's find some time to talk. I think I could help you. Now, where it gets even crazier is as I started to reach out to my network and tell them about Boss at the Helm and that I'm on this exciting adventure to eradicate bad bosses and cultivate leaders. Well, so very many people would answer that text or email or call and say, you won't believe this, AK, but I was just thinking about you. And when the two of these things started to converge, this well wishing and people who are really willing to work behind my back and work with me and volunteer their time, when that combined with this energy of I'm reaching out and people are like, hey, I think we're supposed to talk. Well, that plus knowing the word pronoia really got me inspired and thinking, you know what? This is so true. We can do more of this. And guess what? We also do it in leadership. Well, really good boss leaders do it. Let's think about it. Leaders are constantly conspiring to lift up, to motivate, to encourage, and to develop the team. We talk with other leaders all the time about building and promoting. How do we get the right opportunities for somebody? How do we stretch and challenge a particularly star employee? How do we raise this quieter employee out of their position and really help them start to explore and learn and become more of a star themselves? Sometimes we even barter across teams and divisions to say, hey, I'll trade you this if you can give me this experience or this opportunity for somebody on my team. So let's look at specific things that you can do as a leader, very pronoic things, if you will. One, I want you to talk positively about other people behind their back. Especially do this for people on your direct team because they are the ones who are most prone to catching on and spreading your behaviors. You're creating a culture of pronoia in that case. Two, I want you to really pay attention. As the leader, when you are in your one on one meetings, I want you to listen to what your direct reports are saying and what they don't say. Observe the traits that they have. Sometimes what individuals will tell you and what you observe about them don't really line up. And you may need to coach and guide your individuals towards a path that's going to help them be more successful. So you want to help them plan and find opportunities within the organization, actively look for projects or roles or assignments. Let me give you an example of this. I had a woman on my team who was lovely, really wonderful. She had been hired in a kind of junior administrative role and had done really well at that for years. But she'd had a number of managers who never helped her think past or plan for what her next big move would be. She was sort of stuck. She could do this job wonderfully. That was fine. But what else was there? So in this case, I guided her through a series of assessments and tasks, and we worked to help identify things that she actually did in that role that most people would be unaware of. Turns out she did a lot of networking, contracting, and negotiating with our partners. So then, as another essential thing that you can do as a leader is listen to your colleagues, right? Listen to your colleagues, figure out what their issues are, and figure out how you might be able to help them. So, as I was listening to one of my colleagues talk about how he really needed a lot of help in his partner network, I then said, hey, you know what? Let me talk to you about this lady on my team. And I talked her up and I explained that while he wouldn't normally think of her first, there were a lot of reasons that she could really help with his specific problem. And so, as we talked about it, we came up with an agreement that would allow her to trial in his department, in his team, and see if they could help each other. She would get experience and exposure to new roles, and he would get support that he needed within his team. Those are very pronoic actions. They're kind of behind the scenes, and they're things you can do as a leader. Now, to be clear, a lot of managers and leaders will not do this. They won't because they don't want the hassle of losing somebody that they've trained who's really good at their role. And to be also fair, not everybody actually wants to promote out of all roles. So, as a leader, when you're looking at your colleagues and your one on ones, you want to really investigate and understand what is it that they want and need before you make moves on their behalf or try to bring them into other opportunities. The last one that I'll point out here is about your own boss. You really want to pay attention to them. Don't sleep when they're talking about vision, mission, goals, challenges. Listen carefully in their town halls and their team meetings to the chatter in the hallway or on the Zoom. You want to participate in your one on ones with them. When you do this, you're going to hear and see and notice opportunities where you can support your own boss. Many managers and leaders will take this as a one-way street. They'll take their boss's support and expect that, but they won't also look for opportunities to be helpful to their own bosses and managers. So I'm encouraging you to do that as a great boss leader. A couple of examples. When something's not going well and you hear the chatter across the teams about your boss and maybe they're bashing your boss, can you step in and potentially provide another perspective for the team? Can you talk positively behind your boss's back? And when your boss is complaining about a recurring problem in another department, a delay, say, in another department that really doesn't have anything to do with you, can you consider, oh, you know what? I know how to solve that. We have this process that we put in our department or on our team that could really help there. I'll reach out to that department. I'll try and make some progress with them and see if we can do it. And it's not really your job. And yet it could make a big difference, right? It could really help behind the scenes. So looking for opportunities like that with your own team members, with your colleagues, and with your bosses, you want to help them behind the scenes, think well of them for your own sake. Choose to believe that others are conspiring to help you, that they think well of you, that they support you, and that they're talking about you in a good way. And then here's the important part: choose to do the same with your team, with your network, your colleagues, your friends. Spend some time thinking positively about how you can help somebody. Think about how you can best support somebody and even go and directly ask, how can I help you? How can I support you? And then talk about them behind their back in a positive, I wish you well way. Until next time, I hope you'll join us here again at Boss at the Helm. I'm AK Helm, wishing you well. Let's all be boss leaders. If you'd like more of this content, click subscribe.